I think the Russians know there's no end other than the one they make of it. And so what we're seeing is the ramp up in long-range precision strikes against the entire power grid, the energy sources, the energy delivery systems, transportation, arsenals, ammunitions. All of those things are being systematically targeted. And the reason is very simple. Once you've stripped it away and eliminated all of the air defense and the energy, two things happen. First of all, the population says, I can't survive here, and they leave. And the Russians would like the civilian population to get out of these places. They do not want to fight their way through cities that are full of people. Welcome to a pivotal update on the unfolding saga in Eastern Europe. Today's coverage isn't just another report. It's a deep dive into a theater of war where every move and counter-move can shift the scales of power. As Ukraine launches a bold aerial offensive striking deep into Russian territory, questions loom. What does this mean for the future of this conflict? And is this a sign of escalating aggression or a strategic feint in a larger game of war? But there's more to this narrative. We turn to the insights of former US Colonel Douglas Macgregor, a seasoned military strategist. Colonel Macgregor presents a thought-provoking perspective. What we are witnessing, he argues, is merely the tip of the iceberg. According to him, Russia's recent offensives are preparatory maneuvers, not the full extent of their military might. He suggests that the true Russian offensive, potentially on a much larger scale, has yet to unfold. This insight adds a layer of complexity to our understanding. Are these tactical strikes harbingers of a larger storm brewing on the horizon? As we navigate through these turbulent waters of warfare, join us in unraveling the strategies, the unseen tactics, and the possible paths this conflict might take. This is more than news. It's a journey into the heart of a modern battle for power and territory. Let's embark on this exploration together. In an orchestrated display of aerial prowess, Ukraine embarked on a significant offensive against Russian air bases. The night sky over Rosok was first to witness this onslaught as a fleet of UAVs, estimated at over a dozen, swarmed the base. Russian defenses managed to intercept most, but the message was clear. Ukraine was escalating its tactics. Next, the Moore airfield experienced a more intense wave of aggression. An estimated 44 UAVs were unleashed in a meticulously planned attack. Russian reports indicate successful interception of nearly 40 of these drones, while Ukrainian sources claimed substantial damage to Russian aircraft. Finally, the strategic Sarat airbase faced a solitary UAV strike. While this attack resulted in minimal physical damage, it served a greater purpose: to distract, misdirect, and gather intelligence on Russian air defenses. This singular UAV hinted at a strategy beyond sheer firepower, indicating a nuanced approach to warfare. In total, the onslaught involved around 60 UAVs across 3 key locations. This maneuver reveals a significant shift in Ukraine's military strategy, aiming not just at immediate damage, but at undermining the broader operational capabilities of Russian forces, aiming at the S-34 squadron and their capability to smash the front line with glide bombs. As Ukraine showcased its capability to penetrate Russian air defenses, the stage was set for a Russian countermove, equally strategic and impactful. Let's explore Russia's response to these unprecedented aerial attacks in a strategic gambit. Russian forces have launched calculated tactical strikes against crucial Ukrainian military and energy installations. Mr. Douglas provides a critical insight into this strategy. According to Macgregor, these operations are a part of a well-prepared Russian plan designed to systematically weaken both the Ukrainian front lines and their supply chains in the rear. This approach, Macgregor asserts, demonstrates Moscow's readiness to escalate and respond effectively to any aggression, whether from Ukraine, NATO, or even the US. Each Russian strike is carefully crafted, not just for immediate impact, but for long-term strategic disruption. The attacks are precise, targeting key positions in a bid to destabilize the Ukrainian defense network. These maneuvers showcase a deep understanding of the battlefield and a commitment to a larger strategy that goes beyond mere territorial gains. The offensive has been particularly intense in the south, where Russian forces are making significant inroads. This advance, marked by a combination of ground offensives and precision artillery, is compelling Ukrainian troops to retreat from crucial areas. The Russian use of UAVs in these regions further emphasizes their tactical acumen, serving both destructive and reconnaissance purposes. Amid this relentless onslaught, the targeting of Ukrainian energy supply lines, especially in strategic locations like Odessa, highlights a deeper aspect of Russia's strategy. These strikes aim to disrupt Ukraine's ability to sustain its military efforts, reflecting a long-term approach to weakening the opponent's capabilities. This strategic weakening of Ukrainian defenses sets the stage for further developments on the shifting battlegrounds. Let's now turn to these front lines where the conflict's true intensity and implications are starkly evident. On the front lines, the ebb and flow of battle paint a vivid picture of strategy and survival. Russian forces, with their calculated advances, have changed the dynamics of this war. In Bohorka and Chasov Yar, we see a strategic tug-of-war with control swinging like a pendulum. In this brutal confrontation, the situation near Bohorka is particularly volatile. Russian units have pushed Ukrainian forces back, gaining ground and compelling them to retreat towards critical defensive lines near the surrounding forests. These advances were not without significant effort. Intense fighting and shelling marked the Russian campaign to secure these areas. In Chasov Yar, the conflict has intensified. Russian forces are reported to have made substantial advances, pressing Ukrainian defenses and targeting key military installations. The battle here is not just for land, but for strategic advantage, as controlling Chasov Yar could offer the Russians a significant edge in maneuverability and resource allocation. As we move to the broader front, the Russian strategy seems clear: a meticulous and relentless push to weaken the Ukrainian defenses from multiple directions. Russian troops have employed a mix of traditional ground offenses supported by UAVs and artillery to destabilize Ukrainian positions. This multifaceted approach has forced Ukrainian units to spread thin, defending on multiple fronts and leaving some areas vulnerable to breakthroughs. In the midst of these ever-changing dynamics, both sides have suffered losses, but the exact figures remain uncertain. What is clear, however, is the increasing intensity of the conflict as each side vies for control over key regions. This battle is not just about territory. It's a fight for future positioning and strategic advantage in a war that continues to evolve with each passing day. As we witness these intense battles for control, it's crucial to zoom in on specific locations that have become focal points in this conflict. Let's examine these critical areas where the struggle for dominance is most fierce. In the heart of the conflict, the towns of Yasno, Broa, Nave, and Yanaki have become emblematic of this war's brutality. Russian forces have executed a series of calculated maneuvers, reshaping the battlefield and compelling Ukrainian units to withdraw strategically. In Yasno, Broa, the situation rapidly evolved, with Russian troops advancing significantly, pushing Ukrainian forces back from key forested areas and high grounds. The ferocity of these advances can't be overstated, with both sides engaging in fierce, unyielding combat. The narrative in Nave follows a similar arc. Ukrainian defensive positions here have been under severe pressure, leading to a tactical withdrawal towards larger forested areas for regrouping. Russian troops have capitalized on this, gaining control over important terrain pivotal for future operations. Yanaki has seen its share of intense fighting. Russian advances in this area highlight their strategic approach of encircling and isolating Ukrainian positions, effectively cutting off supply lines and reinforcements. This has resulted in Ukrainian forces being squeezed out of critical defensive locations across these towns. The conflict's dynamic is a testament to the shifting tides of war. The Russian strategy appears to focus on systematically breaking down Ukrainian defenses, targeting key locations to disrupt their operational capabilities. This approach, marked by relentless assaults and tactical superiority, has led to significant territorial gains in a redefined battlefield. These developments in Yasno, Broa, Nave, and Yanaki are not isolated. What could the ongoing conflict in Ukraine signify in the grand scheme of global politics? Ponder on this as we delve into the unfolding saga of an escalating conflict, a war of attrition that is reshaping the geopolitical landscape of our time. Our tale begins in the year 2022, when Russian President Vladimir Putin acknowledged the protracted nature of the conflict in Ukraine. He emphasized the use of all available means in what was termed a special military operation. The annexation of 4 regions in Ukraine marked territorial gains for Russia, yet controlling certain areas proved challenging. The occupation of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant raised global concerns about a potential nuclear incident, while attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure led to widespread power outages. Fast forward to later that year, the conflict shifted its focus to the Donbas region, an area known for its rich industrial heritage and historical significance. Despite cultural ties to Russia, the inhabitants of Donbas held on to a strong sense of independence, rejecting pro-Russian sentiments. This strategic region became a focal point in the conflict, echoing Putin's ambitions of re-establishing a Soviet-like union. As we entered the year 2023, Russia's influence in Ukraine seemed to wane, but another catastrophe loomed. The blockade of the Lakhin corridor by Azerbaijan since December 2022 led to a humanitarian crisis in Nagorno-Karabakh. Shortages of food and medical supplies became severe, and the world watched as the specter of ethnic cleansing hovered ominously over the region. This conflict, in all its complexity, has seen significant developments on both sides. The strategic towns of Yasno, Brodkaneva, and Yanaki emerged as pivotal points in this relentless struggle. Ukraine suffered catastrophic losses, reaching peaks unseen since the Bakhmut period. In stark contrast, Russia, despite equipment losses, reported its lowest human casualties in this phase of the conflict. Colonel Douglas, a keen observer of these developments, suggests that the high Ukrainian losses signal a turning point. In contrast, Russia's methodical approach and limited casualties reflect a well-calibrated strategy. He further posits that Moscow, under Putin's leadership, adeptly responds to any escalation with a suite of plans always ready for deployment. The fierce ground battles and strategic targeting of energy infrastructures underscore the brutality and complexity of this conflict. As these events continue to unfold, it is clear that this conflict is not just a series of isolated incidents, but part of a broader strategy shaping the entire conflict. In conclusion, the strategic reshaping of this conflict brings us to a pivotal point. The resilience and adaptability of both sides are put to the test as the intricate chessboard of this conflict evolves. The shifting tides of war paint a vivid, albeit somber picture of our times. So what does this ongoing conflict signify in the grand scheme of global politics? Perhaps it is a reminder of the harsh realities of war, the resilience of the human spirit, and the unpredictable nature of geopolitics. Or maybe it serves as a warning, a call to action for the international community to intervene and prevent further escalation. The interpretation, dear listener, is yours to make.